Welcome to Wednesday at the PGA Show. We're here with Travis Milleman, who is the lead design engineer with Ping, and we're going to talk a little bit about product development rather than just the kind of the marketing info about the new products. This is a man that designed the fairway wood, so I think in principle, Ping are known for being functionally great.
Yep.
Obviously,
Thank
that's
you.
your
Good.
team.
Good.
So,
yes.
And how do you take products that are functionally really good and develop? What's the kind of the process? Because we know it happens years out.
Yeah.
But what's the kind of the start point, and how much is that influenced over the years? So I'm asking about 7 questions in one go.
Yeah.
Influenced by when products hit the market, how much room for maneuver is there within that process?
Yeah. So we have functional teams that are living 5 years in advance of when a product will hit the shelves. I think G440 is a great example. We've been working on that heavily in terms of materials, structure design, in the innovation world for a number of years before today. They launched a week ago. And so we do have a couple of teams that work on the front end. So we have a golf science team, and I think it's important. I think we're really good at understanding how does the golf ball interact with the club head, and how does the human interact with the golf club, right? And so I think to understand those things, it's really important to understand how are people using our product, and what are the rules and physics governing the interaction between the golf ball and the club head. Friction's a great example of that. I think it's no secret in our wedge space, we retain a lot of great spin retention in wet conditions, because we have a team fully studying how does friction influence performance when you introduce grass, water, right? We know that we obviously live in Phoenix. We design clubs in Phoenix where it's dry and not as much grass as other places in the world, but we know people functionally play in other places of the world. So we do a ton of front-end research on just how do golf clubs interact with the golf ball, the turf, the people, to understand how that functions. But then we also have to make designs and structures and materials to help complement that. So carbon fly wrap is a great example of that. It's new on 440 across our entire lineup. We've been working on carbon fly wrap throughout different stages for 5 years to make sure it's fully ready for introduction to 440. Designing materials that are super light and strong. I think those are tend to go in opposite directions. The stronger materials are typically heavier, and so how do we balance developing in the material space really light and strong materials?
And then you've got the cost element to factor into that as well, making sure that maybe less so for the LST fairway wood. But in terms of, it's got to be palatable to the consumer as well. So how much, if you didn't have that constraint, how far could you go? Like how much more could be done?
I think there's a couple constraining factors. Like you mentioned, cost is one of them. We always need to make sure we're doing the right things at the right price. In the design world, we have a ton of freedom. We want to make sure we're doing the right things first. Make sure it works, make sure it's manufacturable. But we also are constrained by some of the rules of golf as well. I think CT or COR, the hotness of the face, is a big one. If that is definitely a kind of the governor on making sure that you can't have a driver face itself that is too hot. But what we can do in the design world and the innovation world is augment that through higher MOI. Higher MOI makes a golf club perform hotter on off-center hits, right? If you have less twisting, you have better ball speed retention heel to toe. We know there's a limit on CT on the center or CT on the face, right? We want to make sure the entire face is up to that limit, which is a combination of material and structure design. So designing in with materials, we have a T9S Plus face material we've used for a number of generations, not without lack of trying to replace it. We're always looking to do lighter and stronger face materials that not only are fast, but also durable. Durability factored into a lot of what we can do. Like we talked, cost, kind of the constraints of the rules, but we also have a really high standard on what we hold ourselves to. You could easily make a product that is fast, juiced, but it might not last in the market, and we want to make sure anything we put out in the field is going to last.
I think it's fascinating how much difference actually I think we've already seen in the brief period that we've had the product of how heel side ball speed retention, in part due to the internal sleeve, that having a bit of weight mass taken out of it, and had kind of basically a chunk of the internal sleeve of the adapter being taken out. That's something that has been noticeable. There's always been consistency of spin performance in particular, and a little less gearing, but actually ball speed retention's up.
I think that's a great segue there. So free hosel design is our new technology in that heel region. And it was done for two things. You touched on one of them. How do we get the entire face to be hotter, right? And so we've always had this, for lack of a better term, this mass in the heel that helps to keep the sleeve in place.
Yep.
We looked at, this is a few years ago, how do we lighten that up? It was more of a mass savings function at first. How do we get mass away from the high heel region, which we know is not great for MOI, it's not great for CG, but it's there to functionally help hold the sleeve in place.
Yep.
We did prototypes where we stripped everything away. What we found was, yeah, it's really good at saving mass, but it's also good at making the heel side of the face hotter. So we saw more ball speed in the heel, which then has the design challenge of, cool, the heel side is flexing more. How do we make it durable?
Yeah.
We need to make sure it's durable as well. And so we've essentially removed material on the heel side of the face to make it more lively, but it also means all the components in that region that help keep the shaft on the head are subject to a little bit more stress as well. So we've made some sleeve changes to help augment and work with free hosel design to let the face move, but make sure it's really durable. It saves mass. When we can use that mass savings in that region, we know a lot about how the golf club interacts with the golf ball. We know that lower CG and more rearward CG is better for combining MOI and proper launch conditions. So we saved a lot of mass in that region that we then put into our CG shifter in the back to help complement the launch and forgiveness. When you make a forgiving driver, once again, you help preserve ball speed on off-center hits. So, but we also make sure it's manufacturable and for the right. There's a lot of factors that go into it. That seemingly a simple technology of removal of mass. There's a lot more that goes into it to make sure it's functional.
I think you could tell we could go on and on and on and on for a very long time, but in the interest of keeping you guys watching, I think we'll round up that. I'm really, really grateful for your time and the insights. As we could stand here for the rest of the day, except James's shoulder wouldn't do it with the camera. But thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Really appreciate you coming in and having a chat with us. And look out for the new product kind of reviews and comparisons of the updated Ping models. We'll be doing comparisons to G430, and you'll see some of these, what we're talking about now, come to fruition with the data we provide then. So check out those videos when they come out. Thanks again, and
Thanks so much.
Look out for the rest of the videos from the show.